Today, our board president will give us an update on the Tellico Rebuild project, the latest on village finances, and what's up with the invasive species, the Asian carp, and much more. It's coming right now, so stay tuned. Hello, and welcome to the second quarter Tellico Village POA Board Update. I'm your host, Carla Johnson, and I'm here today with our board president, Marty Inkrott, to talk about some timely topics at Tellico Village. So welcome, Marty, and thank you for being here.
Thanks, Carla. Always like to be here.
We've just completed the second quarter, and one of the top priorities is the Tellico Rebuild project. The clubhouse was a total loss due to a fire in August of 22, so this was an unplanned project for 23 until then. However, it does provide a number of opportunities as we look at the rebuilding process. So what's the latest?
Yes, unplanned, but now is the major project going on in Tellico Village. As you know, the Carp barn has been operational since probably the March timeframe, I think, so for quite a while now. And the temporary clubhouse has been operational since May. And the Public Works guys added a deck to the back, so it's really a pretty good temporary facility. Regarding the foundation, we're still in a battle with the insurance company regarding that. They claim that the fire did not cause any damage to the foundation, even though it doesn't meet specs for building on it. So we're in that battle with them, and hopefully we'll get that resolved soon. But in the interim, we're working on the new clubhouse. So we hired Paradigm Studio out of Nashville, Tennessee as our architect. They're very well known, and they've had lots of good experience here lately with multi-use facilities. And they also have a lot of experience in construction and design. The rebuild committee, we're probably 20 strong right now, if not more. We bring residents on that have capabilities that we're looking for, like design, construction, all types of different expertise that we're looking for. So we had that whole group, we meet with Paradigm to come up with some initial ideas. And then we met again to review some conceptual drawings. And that's really to the point we are now. Chet discussed some of this in an HOA State of the Village in January, and then again on June 29th in his town hall. There will continue to be ongoing updates in the Telegram and on the POA website, and opportunities for residents to have their input on the portal. Cost, big question. Still undetermined. We have an estimate based upon replacement cost of the old Tellico structure. Right now we're looking at $4 million of insurance money. With the increase in size of the new facility and with having to do the parking lots and everything else it's going to do to complete that site, right now we're anticipating somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 million. But we don't know for sure yet. And the board hasn't approved anything, so it's all TBD.
Okay, great. And I know you talked about the parking and expanding the parking. One of the things that will also help is to alleviate some of the, the parking overflow that we need for things like docks that are there also in the Tellico Basin, correct?
Yeah, so the old parking lot could handle 125 vehicles. So right now we're looking at 300-ish maybe parking spots. And so that leads to the big question of what do we do about the 9th green?
Right.
So that hasn't been determined yet either. And a lot of the conceptual drawings that we're looking at give us an idea of how we can put parking spaces in and whether we're going to need that space or not. Bottom line is we don't want to move the 9th green unless we have to, because it's incremental expense.
Right.
If we have to do it, so be it, but we don't want to unless we absolutely have to.
Okay. Now the town hall that you mentioned, if our viewers would like to see the town hall, just go to the Tellico Village Network YouTube channel under live. And if you are watching this video on our YouTube channel, a link to the town hall video is in the description. So unfortunately, trash pickup and recycling remain hot topics for the village. Can you bring us up to speed on that and the options that the board is considering?
So at this point, not a whole lot has changed since our last update. we have signed a deal with Republic to take us through the end of the year. So that gives us some time to get our act together and determine how we can approach this. Now, Lenore City did just renegotiate or negotiate a new contract for them. But what they did is they have guaranteed number of households, so everybody pays for trash whether they use it or not, and it becomes part of their electric bill. Now, we could consider something like that. In fact, we are. We're looking at it and saying, okay, what kind of impact would that have on our rate if we did that? So we will be asking that when we put this out to bid. We haven't put it out to bid yet, but we expect to here relatively soon. In the interim, Loudoun County has, from a recycling perspective, agreed to put some recycling bins at our Public Works facility on Davis Ferry. So that'll be available to all Tellico Village employees. Not sure of the timing on that. I thought it was going to be in place by now, or not I, but we did. And so we'll see, and we'll keep everybody apprised of when that's going to be available. There is recycling at Public Works today for cardboard and for aluminum. And people can take their recycling to any of the convenience centers as well, the Monroe County or the Loudoun County convenience centers. So we'll keep everybody informed as we proceed here in 2024, but in the interim, like we said last time, keep paying your bill.
And when Loudoun County does get those recycling bins in place, those will be available to everyone who lives in Tellico Village, correct?
Yes, available to everybody, and the nice thing about that is Loudoun County is picking up the tab for that. Perfect. So that's another benefit for us.
So we know that the Long Range Planning Advisory Committee has been working on an overall land use map for the village. There are considerable opportunities out there for residential, parks and recreation, and amenity development, especially since the POA purchased several hundred acres from the original developer in 2021. So can you bring us up to speed on the status of the land use plan?
Sure. Like you said, with the purchase of the just over 200 acres from Cooper, the POA now owns about 438 acres of property. Most of the individual parcels that we have exceed 4 acres. Now, if we divide that 430 acres up into how it's being used today, 70% is been identified as recreational use. 17% is available for further development, in which infrastructure would have to be installed as well. 4% commercial properties, and 2% potential residential where no new infrastructure would need to be added. So what's happened recently is we've issued RFPs to several different developers for 3 different parcels, 2 of them in Kahidi and 1 on the north end, north of Coyote. 2 of those properties we're asking about potential multi-family facilities or structures, and so we'll see what they come back with. And we're also looking at potential RV and boat storage solutions. Another
topic is the invasive Asian carp. And so I know that we've been talking about that since really in 2020, early 2020. So the Tellico Village Board and staff became aware of the threat of this invasive species about that time, and it could have a tremendous negative impact on our beautiful Tellico Lake. So it wasn't long before the Asian carp became a household name, and thankfully the news is pretty good so far. What can you tell us about the current status of Asian carp in the Upper Tennessee River Basin?
So really the solution is in the hands of TVA, and they're working with federal government on getting funding to do certain projects. So what the TVA has announced earlier this year is that they will begin putting barriers in place at the locks. So now the question becomes where to start. Now their recommendation is to start at Kentucky Lake, Lake Barkley, up by the Ohio River, because that's where it's coming into the Tennessee River. There's also a contingent of people that think the barriers should be started further upstream from where the last sightings were. I guess that's going to be the battle, right? Or at least the discussion. To that end, there is a symposium coming up in Lenore City at the venue on July 13th to basically discuss and inform people of, okay, here's where we're at, here are the issues, and here's the logic behind where these people think the barriers ought to start. Even when that decision's made, it could be quite a while until it gets started. So, I mean, I would say that they are progressing, but not at the speed of light.
But the good news is that so far, no signs of Asian carp have been found in our surrounding area, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Another thing that folks are always interested in is village finances. So one area of focus is the ongoing challenge for the golf department. We've heard the phrase, rounds are up, but revenue is down. And so in golf, they're always working to maximize both revenue and member value. Tell us a little bit about that reality and how the issue is being addressed.
During the budget season last year, it was decided that we were going to cut out more guest rounds and make those tee times available for residents because the demand is pretty high. So logic says if you do that, you're basically lowering your number of your high gross rounds in terms of dollars for lesser paying rounds. And then when you add in the all-you-can-play packages that we have, you get a lot more rounds played for the same or less revenue. So that's the battle that golf has to figure out. Another challenge that they have is whenever we have large group outings, the scrambles, HOA has them, New Villagers has them, several other groups have them as well. The golf courses need to clear the course before it starts. So if it doesn't start until mid-late afternoon, they've got to clear the course 2-3 hours ahead of time. So now you're giving up all those potential revenue paying rounds as well. So those are the things that the Golf Advisory Committee is looking at, not to do away with any of it, because those are important, right? Just for part of the way of life here in Tellico Village. So, but they are looking at it, want to be able to quantify that, and then come up with hopefully some innovative ways to bring in more revenue. One of the things that they are doing is they are beginning to open up more tee times for guest rounds when they're not being filled by residents. So trying to do that as much as possible.
Okay, great. So another financial issue under scrutiny is the cost of insurance. Like so many other costs, it seems to only go up. So what's going on with that?
Well, so we're kind of in the precarious position of having two pretty large claims here in the last few years. We had the Public Works building burned down and now Tenassi. So we become an insurance risk. So therefore our cost of insurance has gone up considerably. And that on top of the fact that it's just going up everywhere for the most part. The Finance Advisory Committee recommended that we form a committee and made up of several of the people on the Finance Committee because they have that expertise of looking at our insurance policies. You know, what are the deductibles right? Should we look at our philosophy of when we file claims or not? Should we look at potentially more self-insurance? Things like that. So they're assessing all those different things that have an impact on premiums, but wanting to maintain the coverage as well. So we'll see where that leads us.
All right, and one of the first things that the board tasked CEO Chet Pillsbury with was an efficiencies review of all village departments. In considering village costs and expenditures, of course, our largest department is Public Works, so that seemed like a great place to start. So these are the folks who keep our village infrastructure in good working order, water running in our faucets, and common properties looking tidy. So what has the board learned so far?
So one of the big reasons we wanted to hire a new CEO from the outside was to bring in a different perspective. Somebody that's run our type of community somewhere else and can really look at how we're doing things through a lens of, well, he already has that experience. So I think Chet's done a really good job of that. And he chose Public Works, like you said, because it is the largest. And he's not just going in there and saying, well, you need to change this, you need to change this, you need to change this. He's sitting down with the employees and asking them, you know, if you were CEO or president, what would you do differently to help save money, to do things more efficiently, things like that. So they're coming up with a lot of good ideas together. They've eliminated several company vehicles. They're looking at their work schedules. One of the things that Public Works is doing is they can eliminate pretty much all of the overtime that we've been spending, which is time and a half, simply by going to 2 shifts. Because most of the overtime is occurring between 5 and 10 p.m., something like that. So if they go to two shifts without adding any bodies, they can save money. So that's one of the things that they're doing, and they've got several people that want to go that way and want to work that second shift.
So during the June meeting, Public Works Director, speaking of Public Works Director Clayton Taylor gave a report from the ACC, the Architectural Control Committee. It included potential revisions to the residential blue book. What are these?
So quite a few. I just got out of a meeting that all of these were reviewed with the board. And the way this will work, before I get into the detail, the way this will work is it'll be brought up at our next board meeting. And then Chet plans to have a town hall to discuss all the changes with anybody that's interested in it at that point. Mm-hmm. And then we'll actually vote on adopting those changes in the following board meeting. So we're looking at July board meeting, then a town hall, and then August board meeting to approve. There's quite a few changes this time. You know, changing the blue book, there's usually some minor modifications almost every year. This time there are quite a few things. And I'll just kind of run through a quick list. But allowing people to put plants in easement areas. If you look at the blue book, I mean, a lot of people are probably doing that anyway, but it's a good thing to do, especially in a lot of areas where you could have a lot of erosion, so it helps control that. But still can't have any structures or fences or things like that. They're going to have more detailed elevation requirements for new construction, more restrictive and color choices, more specific permit requirements for hot tubs and spas, special cases for 6-foot privacy fences. The limit today is 5 feet. Outbuildings will not be permitted, but there's going to also be more restrictions for detached garages and guest and pool houses. More restrictions on landscape structures, decorations, and improvements. No construction activities on certain holidays, so I think a lot of people will like that. And then there's also going to be some rental permit and restrictions there. And probably one of the biggest things is implementing a fining structure for people not getting permits or not following permits or have other blue book violations. So typically it's just been kind of a slap on the hand, or it's easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission. Mm-hmm. So the new changes to the blue book are going to implement fines for people that don't get permits on projects where they should have done it. And the whole idea is to keep the standard up in the community, right? And so these are being suggested by the ACC committee based upon a lot of the issues that they've seen throughout the village, and a lot of residents have been complaining about anyway. So I think most people will think it's a really big step in the right direction.
Okay, great. How will we communicate? How will those changes be communicated to the property owners?
So like I said earlier, they'll be discussed in the July board meeting. Then Chet's going to have a town hall in July, so that'll be the last Thursday of the month, to discuss them in detail with anybody that has any questions regarding any of the proposed revisions. And then we'll be voting on it as a board in the August meeting.
Right. And I always think it's good advice when people ask if they need a permit for something. I always just say the pat answer should be yes. Go to the Public Works office, talk to the folks that are in there, and sometimes they can save you a lot of money by just giving you some advice and saying that's not a place where you can build a structure, or that's not a place where you can cut a tree down, or whatever.
Yes.
And so it's really a great way just to go and find out if what we're doing in our landscaping, in our yards, or to our houses is okay, and if it requires a permit. I think those are the right people to ask. Would you agree that that's good advice?
Most definitely. Always best to ask. If you don't need a permit, they'll tell you, but it's always best to ask. And one of the things I didn't mention earlier, you asked about communication. Everybody will be receiving a notice of the changes.
Okay, great.
To the blue book. So everybody will get their own copy.
That's wonderful. Well, that's it for our topics for the second quarter. So thank you very much. I appreciate you being here as always, and we'll see you again next time.
All right, great.
Thank you. All right, so before we go, please be reminded that CEO Chet Pillsbury is holding regular town hall meetings open to all property owners. This is one way that Chet is meeting his goal of being visible in the community. These meetings provide excellent opportunities to ask questions and get official information about all things Tellico Village. Town hall meetings are scheduled the last Thursday of every month. Watch the telegram for dates, times, and locations of upcoming town hall meetings. To subscribe to the Telegram, visit tellicovillagepoa.org, select the News tab, and then Telegram. Town hall meetings are also recorded and may be found on Tellico Village Network's YouTube channel under Live. You may also have seen or heard about Chet's initiative to keep the Tellico Village mission statement in sight. His objective is for all stakeholders in the association to see it and live it. Our mission statement reads in part, to enhance and preserve the Tellico Village quality of life, resulting in a lifetime of well-being. So thank you for tuning in to your POA Board Update. And remember, you can watch the live stream of board meetings as they happen on demand later. Just visit the TV and YouTube channel under Live and you will find the video of past board meetings. Be sure to join us again next quarter for more timely Tellico Village topics. As always, thank you for watching TVN, and we'll see you next time.